let's talk about assemblies. I've got plate 4 flexible coupling up here, and I'm going to assemble it. So we can look at each of the parts and figure out what features need to go where. So the first part I have here is the flange. I want the groove here to fit and tab on the other part. I want this surface on the bottom of this part to be sitting flush with the surface on the other part. So the way I'm going to accomplish that is with something called a width mate and a coincident mate. The last mate I need is to make them line up. I'll use a concentric mate. So I've got both of my part files open in Solidworks. For the assembly, I'm going to go create a new file. So up here, the sheet of paper, we're going to be using assembly ANSI. So I can just double click and it will open up a blank assembly. Over here on the left, it should have the begin assembly menu. If it doesn't, you can always get back to that by going to insert components. I'll hit the down arrow and insert components. I want to add in my first part. The first part you add is the fixed part. So it acts as the origin for all of the other parts you'll add in. So in this case, I'm going to choose the disk because it's in the middle of the other two parts. So I'm going to click disk, I left click, and I'm just going to move over and it'll show me the part. It doesn't matter where you put the first part. I'm just going to left click and it'll drop it right in the middle. Okay. So if I go to my origin, it's right there. I've got my planes, right? And this part won't move if I drag it around. It even has a handy menu to tell you the selected component is fixed, it cannot be moved. There's also a little F symbol right over here that stands for fixed. So the next step, I'll add another part, go to insert components, I'm going to choose flange, and I'll just left click to drop it somewhere. I want to add in the other flange. I could do insert components, or I can click right here on flange, and just like Microsoft Word, I can do Control C, click out in the screen, and do Control V. Right? And I can do that as many times as I want. Right? I can have an absurd amount of parts. If I want to get rid of some of them, Shift, select them all, and delete. It'll bring up a window, yes to all. Alright, so I got two flanges and a disk. I'm going to put this one over here somewhere so I don't need to worry about it. These are already lined up pretty well, so let me unalign them. I'm going to go to Move Component, Rotate Component, and just leave it in some random place. It'll give you a better view of what we're doing. So the mates are going to line these parts up. I'm going to start with a concentric mate between this diameter and this diameter. So I'll choose one of the surfaces. Be sure to choose the surface and not an edge. Okay? If you choose that edge, then later you go into that part and make it a chamfer or a fillet, that's going to make your assembly fail because it's going to look for that mate and it won't be there anymore. So I'll choose the surface, hold down Control, and choose this surface. When I release the Control button, it'll bring up all the possible mates that are automatic. So I'm going to choose concentric. So that's not cool. They're not pointed in the right direction. So I can go right here to flip mate alignment and move them around. Okay. So say I messed up and I forgot to do that and clicked out here somewhere. I can go over here to mates, open it up, choose that concentric mate, edit the feature, and mate alignment is right here in the middle. Just click it and change the orientation. Then just click the green check. That mate is good to go. So just like relations in a sketch, I'm going to move this around and see what else I need to fix. So the next one I'll do is I'm going to make this tab align with this groove. So for this one I have to select 4 surfaces. I'm going to click this surface, hold down Control, click this surface. I'm still holding Control down. I'm going to click this surface. Now I'm going to release Control, and I'm going to hold down the middle mouse wheel and spin around. I did that so I can see the next surface I want, which is this one right here. I'm going to hold down Control and choose it. When I release Control, the only possible mate that I can add is the width mate. What the width mate does is line rectangular things up. So I don't really need anything in here. I'm just going to click green check. And now when I move these parts, they're locked in rotation. So they won't rotate against each other, right? Just as if that tab is holding in that slot. But there is space between them. If I used a coincident mate, it would be over-defined. Say if I said this was coincident to this, it wouldn't work because that would interfere with the concentric mate. The next mate I want to lock down this translational movement. So I'm going to do that by making this surface and this surface coincident, right? So now they're totally locked in together. I can't move them around. If you come over here to the features, you notice there's no minus in front of that part. That means it's fully defined. So the next flange, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can find it. It's over here. I'll do the exact same thing, but a little quicker. So I'm going to make this concentric to this. Bam. I'm going to reverse the mate alignment because it guessed wrong. I'm going to choose this surface, this surface, this surface, and this surface. Add a width mate, click green check. I'm going to choose this surface, make them coincident. And that is all I need to do. So that's all there is to aligning this 3-part assembly. This assembly is fully defined. I can go ahead and save it.